Mother's Days Out. It all started about a year ago when Ma began those aerobics classes at the local gym run by Aunt Gulshan. 8 months into Ma's fitness fad, Naina, the second instructor, left Kolkata to join her husband on a ship, and Aunt Gulshan bullied Ma into substituting for Naina. Her decision came as a shock to the three of us. Until then, Ma was a normal Ma. You know, the type who woke us in the morning, hurried us for school, got our tiffins ready, and so on. Now, she had to be at the gym from 9 to 12 in the morning and from 4 to 7 in the evening. She had to work out along with each batch of exercises. It was strenuous work. Sometimes she overslept in the morning, which meant that all of us did too, and then there was a mad rush to get out of the house on time. Ma had to prepare lunch and dinner before she left, and she no longer had time to lay out our school uniforms or polish our shoes if we forgot to do that the night before. Torn shirts, crushed collars, no tie. For the first time, it seemed that my kid sister Sumida and I were getting hauled up by the dress captains almost every day. Tiffin became a packet of chips or a jam bun. Once in a way, as a special treat, we got a toasted sandwich. That, when we were used to parathas and sabzis, noodles or fried rice, or even a piece of fried chicken. Papa did not know what had hit him. He came home on more than one occasion to find Sumi and me fighting like two starving predators over the last bit of cheese in the fridge. Ma was cool. "Time you learn to darn your clothes," she said to me as she handed over a needle and thread. I moved away dolefully, muttering to myself that I wished I had a Ma who was always at home, like my friend Bishu's. Bishu did not have to darn his clothes, that was for sure. "And Shaker," Ma added, "you are 14 now and old enough to take on some responsibility around the house. See that you buy the bread daily, and if it gets over faster than expected, fill up the bread box again." In time, Sumi and I got accustomed to doing our bit, and so did Pa. Our house began to look like a home again, and there were more smiles than snarls till a second bombshell was dropped on us. Aunt Gulshan rang up one day to say that, as in the previous years, the second instructor from the gym would have to go along for a children's summer camp at Ranchi. "But it is holiday time, Gul," Ma protested. "Amit is on tour, and I cannot leave the kids alone." "Let them fend for themselves," Auntie Gul bellowed, and Ma, as usual, gave in to her superior lung power. Before we knew it, missile number 2 had been launched. Sumi and I had been bundled off to Papa's sister Aparna in Meghalaya. She was the only one among our relatives who was not going anywhere that summer. Like two waves, we landed in Shillong, where she met us and drove us off in her jeep. We travelled for half a day before we reached her house in the wilds. Aunt Aparna did not talk a lot or try very hard to be nice. It put us at ease. Her cottage nestled in the hillside, and as I looked at the scenery around, I understood why Aunt Aparna had not needed to go away for the summer. The place was awesome. We stopped and got out of the jeep, and Aunt Aparna said, "Relax today. Tomorrow we will do some spelunking." "Spello-whatting?" I asked, wondering whether Auntie expected us to play some kind of spelling game indoors. "We will go exploring the caves," she replied. "It is called spelunking, and you will like it." "Wow!" Sumi and I exclaimed in one breath. We started to walk into the house, but found ourselves in the middle of a commotion of massive proportions. A huge German shepherd launched itself at Aunt Aparna. A slightly smaller one wagged its tail from the corner of the covered veranda, but would not move as it was surrounded by little greyish, blacky, furry things that were apparently its puppies. Sumi and I froze. We were not used to animals around the house. Ma would not have them, and we had not really wanted them either. To face a family of them suddenly was a bit too much. Aunt Aparna saw our faces and realized what was happening. She made sure that the big guy she called Romeo only sniffed us. We hurried away from the mother, Juliet, and the rest of the clan. The next morning I was awake really early, so I wandered off on my own. A short distance away from Aunt Aparna's house, I spotted a cave. I headed towards it and was almost there when I sort of felt a presence behind me. I spun around and saw Romeo. He had a forbidding expression on his face as if to say, "Look, friend, you better check with me before you wander in my territory." But I refused to be bullied. "Shoo!" I said, as convincingly as I could, given his size and sight of his teeth as he bared them at me. I walked on bravely. Romeo suddenly caught hold of my pant and tugged. "Hey!" I cried in panic. "Let go!" But Romeo was in no mood to listen. I tugged, so did he. There was a ripping sound, and my knee pocket was left between Romeo's teeth as I backed off. 5 strides, and I tumbled headlong into a steep-sided gully. It must have been about 50 feet deep, but luckily I got stuck on a bush about halfway down. It took me some time to recover my senses. Then I looked up, and there was Romeo, looking down, my pocket still dangling in his mouth. "Don't just stand there," I gasped, as the bush seemed to give way. "Get help!" Romeo turned silently and disappeared. I had no way of knowing whether he had understood. I tried to twist and work my way up, but the bush appeared unsteady and I was forced to keep still and cling on. At last I heard voices. "I am here," I yelled. "Get me out fast." Sumi's anxious face peered at me, and I must admit that never before have I been more happy to see the pesky little thing. "Bhaiya!" she cried. "Hang on!" I heard a scrambling sound, and mud and pebbles began to fall around me. Then Sumi was suspended beside me, and she managed to fasten a thick length of rope round my chest without pushing me down. Within moments, both of us were hauled up. As I lay panting on the ground, Romeo began to lick my face. I was so relieved to be safe that, without thinking, I hugged him. "Romeo brought your pocket to me," Sumi said, "and I knew something had happened to you." "Thanks, pal," I whispered to Romeo, now absolutely sure that he could understand every word I said. After all, he had got me safely out of the gully, had he not? "You are very lucky," commented Aunt Aparna. "That bush broke your fall, or you could have hurt yourself badly." "Romeo tried to warn me," I muttered, "but I thought he was attacking me." I looked down at him and saw a hurt expression in his eyes. "Sorry," I said. "I will never doubt you again." I did not. In the days that followed, Romeo accompanied us everywhere, even to the longest cave in Asia, which was a couple of hours' drive from Auntie's house. We spent the rest of our time climbing the hills around Aunt Aparna's cottage and exploring the caves nearby. As usual, Sumi and I found something to fight over, Juliet's puppies. And as we put them on our beds and rolled about with them, we were really thankful to Aunt Gulshan for sending Ma off in one direction so that we could go off in another. When Papa came to pick us up, we were not ready to go home. Papa caught on what was going on in our heads, and the three of us convinced Aunt Aparna to let us have one of the pups as our own. I would have preferred Romeo, but I knew Auntie would not part with him. Besides, how would I hide such a huge guy from Ma? A pup was okay. It would fit into the household, and Ma would not even notice him. We had, of course, not reckoned the mysterious growth factor that takes a pup to within a couple of inches of its adult size in just a few months. Little Caesar began to inflate before our eyes, and we knew that we would not be able to keep him out of Ma's range of vision. He began to take up a lot of space. Pi made a great deal of noise. His presence was certainly felt in the house. What would Ma say? Our only hope was for her to be out of the house most of the time so that she would not fall over him and order him out. By now, you must have guessed that ours is not a very predictable family. When Ma returned, she did not notice the gnawed legs of the chairs or the patches on the carpet. "Guess what?" she said. "Naina will be back soon and I can return to being a 24-hour mom again. You would like that, would you not?" Sumi's grin and mine was kind of fixed. Papa had a dazed look. From inside, the pup gave a whine, and to drown out the noise, all of us began talking at once. You must not give up what you enjoy, Ma. We will help you out, Ma, don't worry. Even Papa's words came out in a rush. You need your freedom, dear. You need to go out to work.